Yo, we are back once again. This is the Wu-Tang podcast. I am Singard Superior. The almighty AR is still on hiatus. But nonetheless, if you have listened to our previous episode on Raekwon's The Wild, I talked about revamping the podcast to make it more inclusive and to include additional elements of Wu-Tang. So therefore, in this episode, I have a guest that exemplifies what I mean. My guest for this episode is Mattias Danielson, author of the recent book, The Wu-Tang Movement, the artists and groups that are honoring the W and the music of the Wu-Tang Clan. Mattias, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good. And before we actually delve into your book and into your background overall, I figured that we would start a little bit about just paying a little homage to Prodigy and everything like that, and just his this sudden loss of a hip hop legend.
Yeah.
It's a shame, and when a
big loss for hip hop.
Yes, it is. He was just so young, and when I saw, and I got like an alert on my phone about it. I had to sit down for a bit because it's so funny about when celebrities die and how or public figures rather, I should probably say, pass, and people really get upset about it. And unfortunately, I didn't really understand that. I understand why people get upset when public figures pass away until it started happening with people who I feel like I grew up on. So Prodigy affected me, and Prince affected me too. So I am, especially after Prodigy, I'm really understanding why people feel a certain way about public figures passing.
Yeah, I can totally understand that too.
Yeah.
I mean, for me as a fan, been listening to Mobb Deep since they started in the 90s. So it's like you said, it feels like you know them almost, listen to their music and so that's why it hit you so hard when it happens.
Yeah, man. So how do people first of all, Mattias is from Sweden, and I know right now it's the evening time over there. I think it's still the morning over here in the United States. Yeah, and I just realized that you're the first international guest that we've had on across both of our podcasts. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And so before we get off the topic of Prodigy, I'm curious to know how is Mobb Deep perceived over in Sweden?
Mobb Deep, hip hop in general are not to be recognized as a hip hop artist in Sweden. You have to be commercial. Mm-hmm. You have to be commercial. Otherwise, it's really hard to get shows done here in Sweden. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I try over the years. I try to get as many artists to Sweden as possible, but in my area where I live, when I talk to the managers and booking agents and all that, they wonder, what have they done? Who are they working with? Are they on the radio? And when I say no, in some cases, they are not interested. But in the big cities, it's doing better.
Okay.
But for me to see great hip hop shows, I have to go abroad. Really, yeah.
Well, I never really thought about that because, in at least with a lot of Americans, the way that we kind of perceive Europe, and I think a lot of underground hip hop artists as they tend to perceive Europe as like this haven for this pure boom bap hip hop, which I guess is is partially true, but we never really get a chance to hear about the commercial side of hip hop within the European context.
Yeah. Also, in Europe, you have many followers in Europe and also in Sweden, but I can almost call us underground. Mm-hmm. So we see when Mobb Deep is they are so commercial. well-known artists, so they get shows. They get shows in Sweden, of course. So, but if you're not that commercial, it's much harder. Sorry to say.
Okay, so you perceive Mobb Deep as commercial?
Yeah, in that sense, I do.
Okay.
Because most hip hop fans know who they are, and even booking agents does. So it'll do. So.
Oh, that's interesting because you know over here, some booking agents over here don't know what the hell Mobb Deep is. So that's pretty cool. So in general, when did you become interested in Wu-Tang?
Oh, from the very first, in the beginning of the 90s. As soon as the record hit Sweden, Enter the 36 Chambers. I think it was before that, because it was that around that time. So from the beginning.
Now, are there during that time were there underground hip hop stations in Sweden where you were living at the time?
I think we had one show, P3 hip hop. Yeah. He's well known even abroad. I think he has interviewed every artist in the hip hop community. So I think he was he's the only one.
Okay.
That I can
Okay. Now did you ever are you a musician at all?
No, not at all.
Now and you talked about trying to bring certain hip hop artists to Sweden. So are you a promoter, or were you a promoter at all?
No. In that it was the artist that asking me if I could get them shows here in Sweden, and I said I can try. But no, the booking agents here in Sweden wasn't interested.
Okay. So you have artists that so you've built a pretty good connection with hip hop artists to the point that they asked you if you could try to help them come out to Sweden.
Yeah.
So they mainly are I'm sure you have like a lot of like Wu-Tang affiliated people just based on looking at your Facebook page. But do you have like any other artists from the United States who aren't Wu affiliated that also reach out to you that you have connections with?
I have to say no.
Okay, that's cool. So the Wu-Tang movement. It took you 7 years to complete this book.
Yeah, in English. It did.
In English. Because in the introduction, you mentioned that you did another book in Swedish, which was called Wu-Tang Killer Bees, the Swedish Manual, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. I did that in 2008, I think. Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, now, is the Wu-Tang movement, is it a revised version of your prior book, or are they two totally different things?
I would say two totally different things. The first the Swedish Manual I did basically just for myself, because I wanted to have a book on the artist that I was listening to, so I did it just for myself, and it was I took information I found on the internet and information I knew, and so, but it wasn't that good done, I have to say. But it was fun doing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can imagine, because when I came across your book, I was so excited because I usually have a co-host who is also my cousin, and for quite some time, I've been talking to him about like there should be a book where someone just compiles like all Wu-Tang affiliates in one book and have like profiles on them, because there's so damn many of them. And then so when I saw that you did it, I'm like, holy shit, someone actually sat down and did it. And so when I was looking through the book and everything like that, and you saying that it took you 7 years to complete, I can totally understand it. But the thing that I really appreciate about your book is that you also conducted interviews yourself with the artists when you could, and when you were able, which is something that, at least when I was thinking about an idea for a book like that, I didn't think about actually doing that. But it begs the question too. Like, do you have like a journalism background at all?
Nothing at all.
No.
Nothing at all. The thing is with the Wu-Tang movement book is that I first wrote the Swedish manual in 2008, and then in 2010 I was talking to another Wu fan about music and so, and then I mentioned to him that I written the Swedish manual, and then he told me, "Oh wow, I want that kind of book too." And I like to write and so, and I thought, yeah, maybe I would do it in English for English talking people and so, and but then I realized if I going to do something in English, it has to be good and it has to be 100% fact, because I don't want to bring out something that's not true. So that's when I came up with the idea. MySpace, was very hot at the time, and I had a few of them as friends on my list, and I thought, well, if I contact them and ask if I can interview them, then I get the fact straight from the artist, and that's how it began. And then came Facebook, and it was easier to reach them online, on chat, on Facebook. And then it was Skype over the phone, and yeah, that's how I did it. Just to get the fact straight from the artists. No one. So
yeah,
that's how I did it. Yeah, that's why it took so long, because like you said, there are so damn many, and I live in Sweden, they live in the USA, so I have to be up in the night. Yeah, shit. It was a long journey. I can say.
I mean, yeah. I mean, and just like looking through your Facebook profile and everything like that, it seems to me that you're getting quite a bit of love for this book. I'm over here in the States. So I counted in the book. I counted 127 artists and groups overall.
I haven't counted them.
Yeah. I counted. I recounted. I think about an additional 2 times, and I kept coming into 127. Man, I mean, it's a lot, because I don't know. Like, so when I got the book in the mail, because like I had of course we all have other mail coming, all kinds of mail coming to our homes, but I just got this big envelope that was sitting, because they couldn't fit it in the mailbox, and it was just sitting in a chair. But I thought it was like my neighbors, and so I picked it up. I'm like, well, who the hell sent me this? Like, what is it? And I opened it up. I'm like, wow. I said, this is the Wu-Tang movement book, and I'm just looking. I'm like, there's so many artists in this book. And and you interviewed the great majority of these artists, which is also just a really amazing feat. And you even have you had the chance to speak to Kevlar 7 before he passed.
Yeah, I talked to him a lot.
Yeah. Now, so what's also interesting about this book to me is that you mentioned that you talked, I believe it was in the conclusion, that you talked to all kinds of Wu fans, and me and you, we both know that Wu-Tang fans, diehard Wu-Tang fans, are really passionate about anything concerning the clan and their affiliates. And you didn't want to get into this back and forth between what it means to be a killer bee, or how someone becomes like a so-called official killer bee. And so you couched all these people under this this term that you deem the Wu-Tang movement, which I think is genius.
Yeah, it was a big dilemma I had when I wrote it, because like you said, I knew as a super fan myself myself, I know I've been in so many discussions before about official Killer Bees and non-official and all that, but I thought when I wrote it, fuck that. I bring in every artist I knew, because for me, as I see it, every artist that are in the book, if you like Wu-Tang and the affiliates, you know who these people are, most of them, because they've done a lot of work with artists within the Wu movement, and so that's why I did it, just to show how many they are and the big effect that the Wu-Tang has on artists today.
Yeah, and if I had to like give like one big takeaway of your book, I think that's the most important one. The fact that you're not really trying to show if these people, well, how connected they are with Wu-Tang. Your biggest goal is just to show how all of these people have been influenced by the clan in some shape or form, whether if it was directly, from one of the original 9, or if it was indirectly through another, Wu-Tang affiliate per se.
That was my main goal, and that was how I worked while doing it.
Now, this book also, which is interesting to me, is that it's strictly independent. You published it yourself, right? Now, since this is a Wu-Tang book, I would imagine that you've could have gotten it published with with a different kind of trade publisher or something like that. Now, did you try to do that originally, or did you already knew going into the project that you were going to just publish it yourself?
At some point, I thought I was going to get it published by what does it call, another publisher or so, but in the end, I understand if I want to get it out, I have to do it myself. And because I'm in Sweden, it's harder, because I knew I tried to get it published here in Sweden, but they told me they didn't know who I was writing about or anything, so they said no to me, and then I tried to reach out to some American publishers, but it was too hard. I don't know. I didn't even know where to look, to be honest. So it was the easiest way. But I got a lot of help from an author in the USA with the book from the beginning. Not from the beginning, but in the end. Actually, who helped me. He tried to get it published, but in the end, he told me to publish it through CreateSpace. So big props to him, Dennis.
Okay, now. So Dennis is also an author. So does he also write about hip hop and music in general?
Yeah, I think his main focus is about autism. He works a great deal with that, very involved with that. But I know he's also I think he's working on a book on some hip hop artists.
So
I was guided to him through Jimmy Khan.
Okay.
From Wu-Tang Management.
Okay.
So he helped me a lot.
Well, man, you're pretty much a Wu-Tang affiliate yourself. I mean, you have like all these interesting connections, through Wu-Tang Management with all these Killer Bees, trying to help them get shows.
Yeah, I'm doing it out of love for their music. So any way I can help, I do.
Yeah. Now, all right. So, what are some of the positives and negatives of publishing a book by yourself?
The positive thing is the simple fact that you done it yourself. I think the negative side is what is called advertising for the book and so. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well,
the only way I promote it is on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. If let's say I would have a publisher in my back, they would have helped me with that in a better way. I think.
Yeah.
That's the most negative.
Yeah. Well, I see. I'm trying to remember how I came across your book. Well, so the way I came across it was, and I think I explained this to you through Facebook. But anyway, I guess for the listeners out there, real quick, I was just looking around for different as I was trying to figure out how to revamp this podcast, and I was just looking around to see what else Wu-Tang is there out there. And, I am aware of other books, pretty much by like journalists and scholars on the clan that I already knew. And then I see this other book, it has Wu-Tang on it, and, it has a B on it, and the artwork looks interesting, which I want to talk about in a little bit. And, that's how I came across the book through Amazon. And I did a search, and then I found the Facebook group that you just mentioned, that had your outline, which I found interesting because you had two documents on there, or you have two documents on there. One is pretty much your goal and the description of the project that you're doing, and then you had the beginnings of a map of Wu-Tang affiliates.
Oh shit, I forgot about that. Oh, it was so long ago I put it up that I totally forgot I put it up there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, because well, first of all, throughout the project, did you stick with that method of filling out this map, or did you just after a while just stop doing the map?
I stopped. I never followed the map, to be honest. I never did. I found it easier to go from my collection. My own Wu collection, as albums, and then being on Facebook, I got reminded. Oh, I forgot about him. Oh, I forgot about them, and that kind of thing. So I did a lot of research actually to see who can I include. Shall I bring him, her? How shall I do? So I never followed the map because I don't know how the map looks, but I don't think it's that well, I think, in my opinion.
So since there are 127 artists and groups overall in this book, were there any artists that you came across during your research that you weren't particularly aware of?
Yeah, it was. It was. Like, for example, many of the new Wu generation, kids to ODB and so, to name some. Otherwise, I think I knew who I wanted. There were a few that popped up during the time.
When I was looking through the book, there were some people, quite a few actually, that I weren't particularly aware of. And then some, looking through the book, it was really interesting because some people, I just kind of forgot about. And so it was good, like, to hear about, like, what they're doing now and stuff like that. And then there were others that I just weren't really aware of. And then, in your profiles of some of these people, you do a really good job in really contextualizing how they're connected to Wu-Tang in general.
Yeah, I thought that was important. Important in that sense to explain to the reader why I've included them, so they see some kind of connection, even if it's small.
Now, what I also noticed too, that again, you've the majority of your source base comes from your own interviews that you've done with these people, with a lot of these Wu-Tang affiliates. But I noticed that you interviewed certain people like several times. And I think you had, I think maybe with Born Divine. I'm sorry, I'm going off the top of my head right now, but I think you had one interview with him like in 2011, then maybe like in 2012 or something like that, and then I think another one. So, what made you interview certain people more than once compared to others?
Because every artist was not like the other. Some artists I could do the whole interview at one time. I don't know how, I don't remember how it was with, for example, Born Divine, but with other artists it was, I asked one question, then he was offline. And then I had to wait till I catch him again when he was online, and that could take several days. So that's why I've interviewed some artists many times, just to get all the info I wanted.
Man, yeah, I can imagine, me having this podcast, two podcasts, and having all kinds of guests on. You just never know how certain people will be. I mean, not saying that that they do it on purpose, but they tend to be busy people and stuff like that, and so you're on their time. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, I understand. I can tell you some stories about me trying to chase some people down. So, which is why I'm so happy that you were so open, about coming on and everything like that, and it's easy to get in contact with.
Like I said, some of them wasn't easy to interview, and one aspect of why it took me so long to finish the book, I don't remember who it was. It was more than one that I got in contact with, talked to them about what I was doing, and they said, yes, I want to do it. And then I maybe asked one question, and then it took me over a year to reconnect with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So like I said, some of them wasn't that easy to interview. And I think many of them got pretty tired of me. Every time they were online, I was there, banging on their door. So that's why I think it took me some time. They were sick of me.
Yeah. Now, you also mentioned in your conclusion that you were starstruck by some of the people that you interviewed. Do you remember any of the people that you were just instantly starstruck by when you had a chance to speak with them?
Oh, it was Black Knights, I have to say, when I talked to Crisis the first time, because I'm a big fan of Black Knights. So that was so awesome. And yeah, and Capadonna too, when I talked to him. That was cool. But in the beginning, it was almost everyone I talked to. Because I thought when I just started with it was just an idea. I didn't think that I would get in contact with so many. So when I did that, it was, whoa, they really want to talk to me. Cool. That kind of emotion it was for me. But then it went over very, very fast, actually. But in the beginning, it was super cool, I have to say.
Now, is Capadonna the only Wu member that you have in the book?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, I would imagine that did you interview him before he became like an official Wu member?
I think good question. I don't really know, actually. I think it must have been after, when it was.
I can imagine that this book, first of all, it took you several years to complete, and just the fact that you had this goal and then you set out and you managed to finish it, which is something that a lot of people can't say they've done with side projects, especially people who have families and have other obligations like yourself. But also I can imagine this book and this project has a particular kind of resonance because you talked about how your grandparents passed like shortly after you finishing this book. So I'm curious to know like the kind of support that you received from your family, and also if your family happen to be Wu-Tang fans.
No. My wife can listen to it sometimes. She can, but no other family member. They think it's cool that I've done it, and so. But yeah, of course they are proud that I was able to finish it, and I know my mom she's very happy that I did a lot of it with the help from my grandparents. Mm-hmm. Because I know it meant a lot to them helping me, because they were very old at the end, but they were still excited to help me in any way they could. So,
how did they help you, if you don't mind me asking?
It was my grandmother helped me a lot with how to write a text correct. And my grandfather was he was working as a, I don't know the English word for it, but he worked at a newspaper printing the book or the paper. I don't know what. And so he told me a lot about how to construct the text properly, with the text, the fonts, and how to make a page look good, basically. He helped me a lot with that.
That's interesting. So it seems to me that you come from a family of like writers, or you come from a family of people who are interested in the idea of print culture overall.
Yeah, it was my grandparents. They also liked to write a lot. They did, and they always supported me when I started this book. Basically, they helped me since I was little. From school, when I was doing projects in school, homework, and that they've always helped me. So when I started doing this, it was natural to go to them and ask for advice and so. So I'm proud that they were here to see the finished product. It meant a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, I know that you said a while back that you couldn't interview everyone, and you didn't get a response from every person that you wanted to get a response from. But was it that? Do you have like that one person that you wish that you could have interviewed for the book?
Yeah, I got one actually, but he politely turned me down. But it's Doc Denim from Royal Fan.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Well, I guess that's not cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, it would have been cool to include him. He was one of the artists that I was so very interested in interviewing. Like I said, he politely turned me down. He said what was it? That time in his life was over. He said, basically, he wasn't interested.
Now what's interesting about reading some of these profiles, especially from some of like the lesser known Wu-Tang affiliates, is the fact that a lot of them, it seems to me that in so many words, a lot of them have said that they've kind of moved on with their lives, but they were still willing to be a part of the book project. But when it comes to people declining you, was that usually the reason in general?
Why they turn me down?
Yeah. Was it usually because they just said that they moved on with their lives and
No. The main issue, because if you read the book, I miss a lot of art. Not a lot, but I miss some artists. And basically, it was about money. They wanted money, and I couldn't give them that, so that's why I didn't include. Straight up, that was the main reason.
Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So I guess we can all understand that. Now, do you so technically you have so the Swedish book that you have, do you count that as your first book?
Both yes or no. That was that was made in a month or so.
Okay.
I just took the information that I found. I knew some info wasn't correct maybe or so, but at that time I just wanted to have a book, like a lexicon over the artists that matched my album collection.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it was my first book, but it was a child.
Do you think you'll ever write another Wu-Tang related book?
No, never. To be honest, no. It took too long and too much of my time. Like when I think about it now, it's crazy. Like I can say almost half the book is written in the night when my family was asleep, and and I had the time to sit down, interview, and then write all alone when my kid wasn't disturbing me, or I had to do duties at home or so. So most of the book is done either at night or when I was going home from work. And so it took too much time. It really did. So I can't see me doing something like that again.
Well, do you think you'll ever write another book at all, or period, like some kind of a piece of fiction or something like that?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Like I said, I like to write, so maybe I do. Yeah, maybe.
Now, I guess in closing, at this point, and the state of Wu-Tang in general, where do you see the Wu-Tang movement heading at this point? Since you mentioned that you have a new generation, you have ODB's son, you have I think U-God's son, I believe Intel, right? So with all these things, where do you see the Wu-Tang movement heading from this point?
Straightforward. All these artists that are in the movement, they will continue to honor the W and make people never forget about the Wu-Tang. And even Wu-Tang is, of course, they are still active, doing shows everywhere, worldwide. So it's Wu-Tang is here to stay, in my opinion. There are so many, so someone will keep reminding the world about the W.
Well, I think that you most certainly helped, because you have the only book on the Killer Bees at this point. So, I think people like you are actually, keeping the W alive, but doing it in a different way by really focusing on the resonance that the W has had on other people, which I think is something that we always look at, we talk about, and people write they write articles on articles on Killer Bees every so often, but I still think that some people tend to miss the point that you really do make in this book. So yeah, so do you have any closing remarks or anything like that? Do you want to plug in your social media if people want to reach out to you, and let people know where they can find the book actually?
Yeah, they can find the book at Amazon and CreateSpace. CreateSpace on Amazon in the UK and Amazon in Europe also. And then on Facebook, they can look up the Wu-Tang movement. I got a page called that, and myself, Mattias Julian Danielsson.
Well, yeah, so guys, please go ahead and cop the Wu-Tang Movement. I did. I looked through it and everything like that. It's a really dope book. I think that if you are a diehard Wu-Tang fan, you should probably have this book because it really goes through pretty much this Wu-Tang legacy and this big wave, this resonance that the W has had on many people, and how, you know, the W has touched the lives of many fans and musicians as well. So go ahead and cop that on Amazon. Be sure to reach out to me if you want to, WuTangPodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to have some more content coming soon, some more book related content coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Keep up with us on Twitter at Wu-Tang Podcast. And with all that, we're out. Peace.